Tawanda lives in the busy city of Kumbali, where the noise of traffic mixes with dreams of success. Every day, he wakes up before sunrise, opens his small mechanic shop by the roadside, and starts fixing broken cars. His hands are always covered in oil. His clothes smell of grease, but his heart is full of quiet hope. Yet no matter how hard he works, his mother's words echo in his mind. "Why can't you be like your brother, Kato?" Those words sting more than the sharp tools he handles. Kato, his older brother, is everything Tawanda is not: rich, admired, and always dressed in fine suits. He owns a big export company, travels in shiny cars, and everyone in Kumbali seems to know his name. While Kato hosts grand dinners for businessmen and laughs over glasses of expensive wine, Tawanda eats his food alone beside his small workshop, the sound of engines his only music. People passing by often point and whisper about how different the two brothers are. Some say Kato is blessed, others say Tawanda is wasting his life, but deep inside, Tawanda carries something that no one sees, a burning desire to prove that worth is not measured by money or fame. He believes that one day, the same hands covered in grease will create something that will make his mother proud. One evening, a stranger's car breaks down near Tawanda's shop. It turns out to belong to one of Kato's business partners. Impressed by Tawanda's quick work and honesty, the man tells him about an upcoming opportunity to repair and maintain company vehicles. It's a small offer, but for Tawanda, it feels like the beginning of something big. He accepts without hesitation. Soon, his small workshop starts to grow, more cars arrive, and people begin to recognize his skill and dedication. Word reaches Kato, who feels both surprised and uneasy. For the first time, he sees his brother not as a failure, but as someone who carved his own path. When their mother hears about it, she smiles with tears in her eyes, realizing that both her sons are successful in their own way. Tawanda finally feels seen, not for being like Kato, but for being himself. In the heart of Kumbali, his name begins to shine, built not on wealth, but on hard work, humility, and belief. At a family gathering, their mother's face beams with pride as she talks about Kato's success. She shows everyone pictures of the new house he bought her, describing every corner as if it were a palace. The guests clap and nod, praising Kato for being such a devoted son. When it's Tawanda's turn, he quietly places a small hand-carved stool beside her. He made it himself from leftover wood at his workshop, carving every curve with care. But instead of appreciation, his mother laughs softly and shakes her head. "A stool?" she says. "Your brother buys me a house, and you bring me a chair from the roadside?" Everyone chuckles, and the words slice through Tawanda like a knife. He forces a smile, hides his hurt, and leaves the gathering before dessert is served. Walking back through the noisy streets of Kumbali, the laughter still rings in his ears. That night, sitting alone in his small workshop, he stares at his rough, calloused hands. For the first time, he stops trying to compare himself to Kato. He whispers to himself, "No more proving. Let my work speak." The next morning, before the city wakes, he starts sketching something new, a part that could make farming machines cheaper and easier to fix. He knows how hard life is for rural farmers who can't afford repairs, and he wants to change that. Days turn into weeks, and Tawanda hardly sleeps. He tests, fails, and rebuilds again. The workshop that once smelled of grease now smells of burning metal and hope. His small invention slowly takes shape, a piece of equipment simple enough to fix in any village, but powerful enough to save farmers time and money. He begins showing it to local mechanics, who are amazed by how well it works. Word spreads fast, and soon people from nearby towns come to see Tawanda's creation. A few months later, investors visit him, offering to help him produce it on a larger scale. Tawanda's workshop, once overlooked, becomes the center of innovation. Farmers bless his name, calling him the man who made their lives easier. When his mother hears the news, she can hardly believe it. She sits on that same hand-carved stool, the one she once mocked, and whispers proudly, "My son did this." For the first time, Tawanda smiles knowing he didn't need to be like Kato. He just needed to be himself. Months later, Kato's proud business begins to crumble. A massive shipment of cocoa beans, meant for one of his biggest foreign clients, gets ruined because the truck engines fail halfway to the port. The air is tense in his office as the smell of spoiled cocoa spreads through the warehouse. Workers rush around in panic, phones ring non-stop, and losses pile up every hour. Kato's face turns pale as he realizes how much money and reputation he's about to lose. He calls every mechanic he knows, begging for help, but none can fix the trucks quickly enough. Each delay means more wasted product, more broken promises, and more angry investors. At home, their mother hears the news. Sitting in her brand new house, she sighs deeply and says, "Maybe ask your brother. He fixes cars all day, doesn't he?" Kato freezes at the suggestion. The idea of calling Tawanda, the brother he once looked down on, burns his pride like fire. For hours he stares at his phone, torn between ego and desperation. But as the losses grow, pride becomes too heavy to carry. Finally, with a deep breath, he dials Tawanda's number. When Tawanda answers, his voice is calm, almost gentle. Kato hesitates before explaining the crisis. He expects mockery, maybe anger, but instead Tawanda simply says, "I'll be there." Within an hour, Tawanda arrives with his tools, his work clothes still stained with oil. Without wasting time, he inspects the trucks and instantly spots what the other mechanics missed. A damaged part deep inside the engine that could easily be replaced by his own invention. He quickly installs his handmade parts, and one by one, the trucks roar back to life. The workers cheer, the engines hum, and Kato stands speechless, watching his younger brother save his company. By sunset, the trucks are back on the road, delivering the cocoa just in time. Investors calm down, and the business survives. Kato turns to Tawanda, his voice low but filled with emotion, and says, "I owe you everything." For the first time, his eyes show respect instead of pity. When their mother hears what happened, she holds both her son's hands and whispers, "Now I see, one built the house but the other kept it standing." Tawanda smiles softly, knowing that finally, his worth spoke louder than words. Tawanda arrives quietly, carrying his worn-out toolbox, the same one he's used for years in his small workshop. He doesn't say much, just nods at Kato and heads straight to the broken trucks. The workers watch silently as he rolls up his sleeves and examines every part of the engine with careful eyes. The problem that confused other mechanics becomes clear to him within minutes. Without wasting a moment, he takes out a small metal piece from his bag, his new invention, the prototype he had designed for farming vehicles. He fits it into the engine with precision, wipes the sweat from his forehead, and turns the key. The sound of the engine roaring back to life breaks the tension in the air. Everyone freezes for a second, then cheers loudly as the truck starts running smoother than ever. The driver tests it on the road, and the vehicle glides effortlessly, even carrying the heavy cocoa load. Kato stands still, unable to speak. His eyes widen with disbelief, watching his younger brother fix in hours what dozens couldn't repair in days. For the first time, he sees that the same hands once mocked for being greasy now hold power, the kind that can change lives. The news spreads fast across Kumballi. People start talking about the man who created a part that saves engines and money. Truck owners, farmers, and traders begin showing up at Tawanda's small shop, asking if he can help them too. His workshop, once quiet and forgotten, turns into a hub of activity. Long lines of vehicles wait outside as people come from nearby towns to get their engines fixed. Everyone wants to see the man who solved the problem even big companies couldn't. Reporters start visiting, curious about the humble mechanic who built something revolutionary. Tawanda never boasts or brags. He simply says, "I just wanted to make things easier for people." His invention soon becomes known across the region, helping not just traders but farmers who can now transport goods without fear of breakdowns. Kato, watching all this unfold, feels both proud and humbled. The same brother he once pitted now stands as a hero of innovation. Their mother, hearing the news, smiles through tears. The stool she once mocked sits proudly in her living room, now a symbol of Tawanda's journey from shame to triumph. Tawanda's small, dusty workshop that once fixed old cars now buzzes with new energy. The sound of hammers, machines, and laughter fills the air. His once narrow space expands into a full manufacturing hub where metal sparks fly, engines hum, and workers move with purpose. He names it Makini Motors, a name that means wisdom and work. Every time he sees the signboard, he smiles, remembering the long nights he spent alone, believing one day his hard work would speak for him. The name carries his story, a reminder that true wisdom lies in effort and patience. As his invention becomes more popular, word reaches the Ministry of Trade. Curious about this small-town mechanic who built something that could help rural transport, officials visit his factory. They're impressed by what they see. A locally built machine part that's cheaper, stronger, and easier to maintain than imported ones. After careful review, they decide to fund Tawanda's work to improve transport in farming communities. The announcement changes everything. Orders start pouring in from across the country, and Makini Motors grows faster than anyone expected. Even with success knocking on his door, Tawanda remains the same humble man. Instead of hiring workers from faraway cities, he chooses young people from his own community, the same ones who once wandered the streets without hope. He trains them patiently, teaching not only how to fix engines but also how to dream big and believe in their skills. Soon, the workshop becomes more than a workplace. It becomes a learning center filled with energy, ideas, and teamwork. Tawanda walks through the factory every morning, greeting his team, guiding them, and reminding them that their hands can build the future. His dream is no longer just about engines. It's about giving others the chance to rise, just like he did. People begin to admire him not only for his invention, but for his kindness and leadership. Kato often visits, watching proudly as his younger brother creates jobs and hope. Their mother, sitting on the stool Tawanda once gifted her, feels tears of joy. Her son, once mocked for being just a mechanic, now stands as a builder of change, proving that true success is not in showing off wealth but in lifting others with wisdom and heart. Meanwhile, Kato's once great business begins to fall apart piece by piece. The same empire that once made him the pride of Kumbali now stands on shaky ground. His offices, once full of laughter and phone calls, grow quiet. His workers whisper in corners, worried about unpaid salaries. Kato ignores the warning signs at first, believing his name alone can save him. But the truth slowly hits. His poor decisions, careless spending, and overconfidence are dragging everything down. He depends too much on expensive imported machines that keep breaking down, and every repair costs a fortune. The investors who once chased his attention now avoid his calls. Meetings that used to be filled with praise turn into confrontations and cold stares. When the creditors finally come knocking, Kato feels the weight of all his mistakes. Bills pile up on his desk, and his once luxurious cars are now parked uselessly, some even broken. The proud businessman who once mocked his brother's greasy hands now finds himself desperate for help. He spends sleepless nights trying to figure out where it all went wrong. The world that once celebrated him now seems to have turned its back. The same people who used to cheer at his success now whisper about his downfall. Their mother, who once glowed with pride at Kato's achievements, feels the pressure too. Her beautiful new house begins to feel empty. Her friends stop visiting, and her heart fills with fear of losing everything. For the first time, she understands that wealth without wisdom cannot last. When she hears that Kato might lose his company, she swallows her pride and turns to Tawanda. Her voice shakes as she tells him, "Your brother needs you." Tawanda listens quietly, not with anger or pride, but with compassion. He remembers the nights he once went home feeling worthless because of the same mother's harsh words. But now, seeing her humbled and Kato broken, he feels no joy in their pain. Instead, he decides to help, not to prove anything, but because family means more than pride. Deep inside, he knows this moment will test not just his strength but also his heart. The city of Kumbali, once divided by the two brothers' differences, begins to watch closely, waiting to see if Tawanda's kindness will rebuild what Kato's pride destroyed. One quiet morning, as the sun begins to rise over Kumbali, Tawanda is in his workshop checking machines when a familiar car pulls up outside. The vehicle looks worn out, and stepping out of it is Kato, the same brother who once looked untouchable. But now his face shows exhaustion, and his proud posture is gone. He walks slowly toward Tawanda, his voice low and trembling as he says, "I need a job." The words hang in the air like a secret too heavy to speak. The man who once owned fleets of trucks and dined with investors now stands before his younger brother, humbled and broken. Tawanda looks at him for a moment, remembering the past, the teasing, the comparisons, the laughter that once cut deep. But instead of anger, he feels calm. Without a single word of mockery, he reaches for a spare uniform hanging by the wall. Handing it to Kato, he says gently, "We start at sunrise. Everyone here earns their keep, even me." The room goes silent. Workers who overhear the conversation stop what they're doing, exchanging shocked glances. None of them ever imagined seeing Kato, the once rich businessman, wearing a mechanic's uniform. The next day, Kato shows up early dressed in blue overalls, ready to work. He joins the others, carrying heavy tools, cleaning machines, and learning to fix engines from the very man he once looked down upon. The workers quietly watch him struggle, but also notice the determination in his eyes. Day after day, Kato's hands grow rough, his clothes stained with oil, and his pride replaced with respect for real labor. Slowly, he starts to understand why Tawanda always spoke of dignity in work. Tawanda never treats him differently. He teaches him like any other worker, correcting mistakes and offering guidance with patience. In time, the two brothers begin to share quiet laughter again, the heavy walls of pride melting away. The workshop, once divided by jealousy, now hums with teamwork and forgiveness. Their mother visits one afternoon and sees Kato fixing an engine beside Tawanda, both smiling as equals. Her eyes fill with tears, realizing how far they've both come. For the first time, the family that was once broken by comparison now stands united by humility, love, and second chances. At first, Kato struggles. Every movement feels heavy, and his hands blister from gripping tools in ways they never did behind a desk. His muscles ache, and every morning he wakes with soreness he has never known. More than the physical pain, his pride burns. The once powerful businessman, used to commanding orders and showing off wealth, now sweats silently beside people he once considered beneath him. He fumbles with bolts, drops wrenches, and wipes his face with grimy sleeves, feeling a mix of embarrassment and frustration. But Tawanda never mocks him. He simply guides, showing Kato how to hold a spanner correctly, how to test an engine, and how to fix problems that money alone could never solve. Slowly, day by day, Kato begins to change. The work that once felt impossible starts to make sense. He notices the satisfaction in finishing a difficult repair, and the gratitude of customers whose trucks now run smoothly. For the first time, he sees value in patience, precision, and persistence. The laughter of the workers, once annoying in meetings he ignored, now feels contagious. He realizes that respect is earned through effort, not wealth, and that true accomplishment comes from creating something useful that benefits others. His ego, which once measured worth by luxury and status, slowly softens under the rhythm of honest labor. One afternoon, their mother comes to the workshop, expecting to scold or perhaps congratulate Tawanda for his success. She stops short when she sees Kato bent over a truck, his sleeves rolled up, hands covered in oil, sweat dripping from his forehead. She feels a strange mix of emotions: shame for how she once favored him for material wealth, pride for the strength and humility he is now showing, and awe at Tawanda, who patiently transformed not only machines but people. The sight makes her reflect. Success isn't measured in fancy cars or grand houses. It is measured in hard work, perseverance, and the legacy you leave behind. Seeing her sons working side by side, she feels her heart swell. Kato, humbled and learning, and Tawanda, quietly strong and wise, represent a new kind of achievement. The family stands together in the workshop, surrounded by the hum of machines, the scent of oil, and the proof that dedication, patience, and humility can change lives. She smiles, understanding finally that true honor lies not in what you own but in the work you leave behind and the people you lift along the way. After months of working side by side, Tawanda sees a change in Kato. He no longer hesitates, he no longer complains, and he has learned the true value of effort and responsibility. One morning, Tawanda calls him over and hands him a clipboard. "You'll be the supervisor," he says calmly. "Not because you're my brother, but because you've earned it." Kato's eyes widen in surprise, mixed with gratitude and a touch of disbelief. For the first time, he feels the satisfaction of being recognized for work, not wealth or family ties. His hands, once clumsy, now guide others with confidence. He directs teams, checks repairs, and trains new workers, showing patience and humility. The two brothers begin to rebuild their relationship. There's no longer jealousy, mockery, or competition. Instead, they share a sense of purpose. Each morning, they walk through Makini Motors together, checking on machines, solving problems, and encouraging the staff. They laugh over small mistakes, celebrate successes, and respect each other's strengths. Tawanda admires Kato's dedication, while Kato finally appreciates his younger brother's wisdom and patience. Their bond grows stronger, built on trust, shared labor, and mutual respect, a bond that no wealth or status could ever create. A year later, Makini Motors celebrates its first anniversary. The factory is filled with employees, neighbors, and officials. Their mother, dressed neatly but with tears in her eyes, walks through the rows of workers, seeing both her sons standing together. Tawanda is called to the stage, and with a sense of pride and accomplishment, he is awarded the National Innovation Medal. Cameras flash, applause fills the air, and for the first time, she sees the full measure of her younger son's success. Kato stands beside Tawanda, clapping loudly, a genuine smile on his face. The brother he once looked down on now shines before everyone, and he applauds not just the medal but the journey Tawanda took to get there. Their mother's heart swells, filled with pride, relief, and humility. The family that was once divided by comparison now stands united by achievement, respect, and love. Makini Motors continues to thrive, and the story of the two brothers becomes an inspiration, a lesson that true success comes from hard work, humility, and lifting others along the way. At the celebration dinner, the factory hall is alive with music, laughter, and chatter. Workers, officials, and neighbors gather around long tables filled with food and drinks, their faces glowing with pride and joy. Tawanda stands in the center, holding a glass of juice in his hand. He looks around at everyone who has supported him, taught him, or even doubted him. With a calm smile, he raises the glass high and says, "To those who never believed, thank you. You made me work harder." The room falls silent for a moment, then erupts into applause. People cheer not just for his words, but for the journey behind them, the years of effort, sweat, and patience that led to this moment. Their mother stands nearby, unable to hold back her emotions. Tears stream down her cheeks as she whispers softly, almost to herself, "I was wrong. You didn't need to be like your brother. He needed to be like you." The weight of her earlier judgments and favoritism lifts, replaced by pride and awe. She sees her sons not as competitors, but as equals, each with his own path to success. Kato, standing beside Tawanda, nods in agreement. His eyes glisten with gratitude, and he quietly reflects on how much he has learned about humility, patience, and the value of honest labor. The celebration continues, filled with laughter, stories, and shared memories. Employees and visitors marvel at the transformation of Makini Motors, from a small roadside workshop to a thriving hub of innovation that now employs dozens of young people, giving hope and opportunity to the community. But amidst the cheer, everyone notices one detail that captures the spirit of the evening. A proverb painted in large, bold letters on the factory wall. It reads, "The fruit may ripen late, but it still sweetens the village." The words feel like a heartbeat of the entire story, a reminder that success does not always come fast, but when it does, it nourishes not just the person who achieved it, but everyone around them. Tawanda looks at the proverb and smiles quietly, feeling the truth of it in every glance at the workers, the machines, and the family he has built. Kato stands beside him, humbled yet proud, and their mother watches, knowing that true legacy is measured not in houses or wealth, but in effort, courage, and the lives touched along the way. The night ends with music and laughter, the factory glowing under the lights, a living testament to perseverance, humility, and the sweet rewards of patience. Enjoyed Tawanda's journey? Subscribe now for more powerful and unforgettable African stories.